Well, hello, everybody. Today we have with us Dr. Figueroa from the Gateway Community and Technical College here in Northern Kentucky. So, Fernando, you've been in your role now for, I believe you're just wrapping up 4 years. So, congratulations on your leadership of this
Thank you.
great asset in Northern Kentucky. So, Gateway, we've all heard it. Many of us have connections, but tell us what's Gateway all about, and tell us a little bit of information about your organization.
So, in the United States, we have multiple models for higher education, and most people are familiar with the university model, which is really a European model that developed in the 1500s. But the United States developed its own brand of higher education through community and technical colleges, focusing predominantly it really was to help communities that had never thought of themselves as being able to get to a higher, post-secondary education and get a credential that could then help them to a better life and a better job. So, as people have heard me say many times, universities certainly have had a role in helping people get into the middle class, but the backbone of what has created the middle class has been community and technical colleges. And the focus then on also the community's growth. Because universities, again, it's that idea of being out of state, you leave, international, those kind of things. But a community college is the college in your region. And so people that go there tend to stay there. And so what we're doing is we're really educating the future of Northern Kentucky here at Gateway Community and Technical College. The other thing is that we're focused on multiple strands. In other words, it's not just teaching classes to get people to associate's degrees or baccalaureates. We have a strong adult education component, helping people get to GEDs that can then lead to career and technical education certificates or PhDs, if that's what they so desire. We also have a very strong and vibrant workforce solutions training arm, which does just-in-time training for our companies in our region to provide them with upskilling of their employees in specific talents or skills that they would like to have their people be smart on. So it's really a very diverse approach to learning, and we tend to get a little myopic when it comes to what is higher education, but Gateway is really where are we needed? We're the special forces of higher education. Where are we needed, and then how do we apply the right kind of training for the right folks to get the right results, and then we monitor and assess that all day long.
You speak of the diversity of the need, and then you also talk about the flexibility that requires. Couldn't have ever been more useful in what we are going through now with COVID. We've spoken to a couple of the educational institutions in our community recently, but you have had a unique challenge there. But talk to us about how you entered COVID, how you're dealing with it now, and how you hopefully open back up with students in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, well, we always go back to our mission. And I know you talked to Dr. Vidia. I think that's something that he and I both share, which we'll always start with the mission, go back. It's like whatever's happening around us, how are we fitting within what we're designed to do and what we're supposed to do? And we have, our 3 commitments is how we kind of mark that out. And that's, increase access to quality education and training, relevant and engaging curriculum. And that's important, right? They're both relevant and engaging to get people to a better job and career. And then removing barriers. And the removing barriers part, I think, really hit us home with the COVID. Because all of a sudden we had this, education depends a lot on, being in the room, being in the space, sharing and talking and interacting. And we were immediately, hit with this challenge of, okay, how do you go from face-to-face to remote? And then it happened like that. Within, 36 hours, we had to go from one modality to another. And, higher education can sometimes get tagged as being a dinosaur, being slow to be responsive. And there's some earned elements to that, I'm not going to lie. But I guess can just say, I challenge another organization that is able to change its distribution model completely overnight in 36 hours. And so we took a lot of face-to-face classes, and we didn't just put them remotely. We didn't just convert online classes. We really were very thoughtful, and we've been preparing for the last 5 or 6 years to really develop our online learning environments, both as an online class, but also added elements to instruction, because, we were dealing with, up until March, full employment.
Yeah.
And people were working 1, 2, 3 jobs, and still the need to get to, better credentials or more credentials for their life. So we were already thinking about, okay, how do we create this online experience that reinforces and develops and gives people access and time to the credentials that they need to move forward. So, we kind of got hit with this, and rather than lamenting, as I know some organizations and sectors kind of went, why? We really moved quickly to the how and the what. And that's something that I think Gateway has a tradition of being, since before I got here, is just being thoughtful and forward thinking about its role in the community and in terms of options for teaching and learning. But one of the things that I think that we brought to this when I got here was that idea that don't focus so much on the stuff that we have. Focus on the designs that we need to create, right? So in our current model, we've got to have, there's certain things that have to be done on site. Our labs have to be done on site. You have to work and interact with the equipment to be able to demonstrate your competency. But there's a lot that doesn't need that. Then you have the folks that do well in what we call asynchronous or out of time, online classes. And we don't just put PDFs on the board, and we don't just have touch base with discussion board every 3 days. We really are very thoughtful in active learning strategies and training our folks to be able to bring out the best of the learning experience from students, so they're interacting with each other in the online environment and with the instructor. But this, going into fall, one of the real challenges we had was, okay, we're small college, right? We serve about 4,000 students, but one of the things we do is we have about 24 people in a class, and that's one of our larger classes. Well, with social distancing, you might only be able to fit 3 or 4 people in that room with the instructor at any time. And given the fact that we have budget constraints that don't allow us to, hire 3 times the number of people and offer 3 times the number of, classes just to make that room, we had to think differently about the face-to-face experience. And we broke it down, and I'm so proud of our academic team and our student services teams, because they really think of it as okay, what are the key elements that we need to make sure happen, and then what are the tools that we have to make that happen. And what we, our academic team developed was what we're calling, let me get the term right, an interactive live stream instruction.
Okay,
so
that's good.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to 11, you'll know when your class is, you'll have your instructor with you online, and if you have struggles with either technology or internet, you can come to our labs. We have more space in our lab areas where we can social distance, and you can have interactions with someone in the room as well as with your instructor online. And again, we're just thinking about what's the best elements to maintain and keep. And, I'm really glad we made that pivot, because again, with the current situation and where the virus is right now, we really probably would be in more trouble if we had committed to this, being on site face-to-face thing.
Of course, yeah. Well, on this plan that you're implementing, taking some of the processes as you speak, you've been working on for the past 4 or 5 years. As a student, have you got any feedback as to what's the worst thing that they've had to deal with with COVID, and now what they would love to have as you stay open and you open back up here in August? From a student's perspective.
Absolutely. The COVID situation, I think initially it was food pantry, right? Food security immediately spiked up as a major issue. And so, working with our foundation and with donors, and of course, lots of people in the region really focusing on that, have provided strong supports, not only to Gateway, but also across the state. NKU with their partnership with Kroger, we're working on different partnerships as well. So that was a big one that first started. As things developed, then we became more aware of the digital divide, which we were aware of and certainly have been working with. And we knew, and we committed resources, laptop lending. We're looking at if students have issues with Wi-Fi, how do we create our parking lots so that people can be in their cars and use the Wi-Fi that we have available and extend those ranges. So I would say access to technology and the food was big ones. And this is something that, we need to get the word out. And I know we're sending a lot of messages out. We're hoping that people will share. A, we never closed. B, we are your best, resource in helping you keep on your education and your path to a better life, because we're built for this sort of thing of disruptions and overcoming barriers. But we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty about where the K through 12 schools are going to be. And so where are children going to be held? And we've got the child care issues and with the restrictions there in our state about how many, kids can be in pre-K and quality pre-K. So we're learning a lot about the different elements that, we've talked about this in 1NKY, that there's an ecosystem, right, where everything has to kind of fit together and be shored up appropriately if we're going to survive disruptions like this. And the one thing we can be sure of is we're going to have to deal with more disruptions like this going forward. So those are the kind of things. We expected more kickback from our students for the technology, but we didn't see it. And we also were concerned that there was going to be a drop-off of students once we made the turn. But I think we were so proactive in engaging with students and helping them feel comfortable in the environment. And we learned a lot about messaging like this, online. I had my Fridays with Dr. F, and I'll be starting that again in the fall. Again, just learning how to get the message out. But right now, I think that we just want more and more people to know that, get to gateway.kctcs.edu, and you can find and maintain your course of your better life by working with us, because we're built for that.
Well, and coming out of this, it sounds like you've got a plan. You're going to be implementing it. If I know of people, if those who might be watching this, we can go to the website. But essentially, if I've got a connection they're unemployed or they want to extend their education or get to another level of employment, you've got people who are specifically designed to and trained to walk people through that process, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we're in the process. Next week, we're going to be doing our pathway to enrollment, which you can find on our website. We've been doing online advising. You can have face-to-face advising if you make an appointment through the website and come to one of our campuses, appropriately social distance with your mask. But we are absolutely engaging in every way possible to reach every student. I think what right now it's helping people make that turn of focus as fall comes into focus, that people say, okay, you know what, I was planning on going to, college, or I was planning on going to Gateway. Okay, let's reinforce that. Because again, I'm thinking, right now we have two lenses. We have right now and how we're working with what the situation in front of us is. But I'm also thinking 3, 5, 10 years out, right? We don't want this to be a gap year for Northern Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's very clear that you started out day one making sure that this was not going to make it a gap year for Northern Kentucky. And I think it's very obvious. And with the enrollment you have, the 4,000 individuals who are going to get a next step on their life because of Gateway, we definitely appreciate your leadership there and the work you're doing to get us through COVID in this area. So thank you so much to you and your team. And hopefully we'll be celebrating some real successes here in the fall with all your students.
Absolutely. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you, Chris.